though I have never actually watched an episode. The premise of this show, Undercover Boss, intrigues me. It is a reality TV show that has aired for the last 14 or 15 years, both in the UK and in the US, wherein a member of the upper management goes in disguise to work amongst the rank and file, to get the scoop of what is really happening at the lowest levels. A bishop, who is really the boss of an entire diocese and the boss of all of us priests, once told me that there are two things that he will never get. The first thing he will never get is a bad meal. The second thing that he will never get is the truth. What is said and done in the presence of a boss is often very different than what is said or done in his absence. And I wonder if the same thing is true also for us pastors. On becoming one of the people, the boss can get to know those people as they really are, without any kind of pretense. This arrangement might not only reveal something about the employees, but it might also reveal something about the employer. It might reveal something about him to him for the first time. One of the principles of servant leadership is never to ask those who are subject to your authority to do anything that you are not willing to first do yourself. But how often does a child get corrected for doing what he has seen or heard his parents doing? That child may fire back, "Yeah, but you do it too." The parents rightfully can be angry about the insubordination, but they might also have a pricked conscience. They might feel a little bit ashamed about their hypocrisy being unveiled, that they are setting expectations so high that they cannot, or perhaps they will not reach them, or perhaps they are laying a burden that they will not or that they cannot carry. To work amongst the least in the kingdom, to get their hands dirty by doing the most menial and mundane tasks, a boss can come to realize that the requests being made from the top of the corporate ladder aren't always well and easily carried out at the bottom. But perhaps even more importantly, they may gain a real sense of sympathy for what has to be endured by those who are tasked to carry out his commands. In our first reading, God asks Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. This is his son. This is his only heir. To those of us who are amongst the rank and file of God's kingdom, we might hear this as an unreasonable request made by God from his crystal palace off in a distance up in the sky. This might be just one more example of top brass not really getting what it is that we have to suffer or endure here below. Is God arbitrary? Is he determining what is good and evil, what is right and wrong simply as he goes along? Is God an abusive boss, flexing his muscle and firing the employees on a whim and as he pleases? Is God perhaps even a little bit sadistic, setting up these tests and making those who are subject to his authority run through them like jumping through so many hoops in order to test their loyalty? The way we respond to this story may not only reveal something about us, the employees, but it might also reveal something about God, the employer. He is bound to us not by a contract, but by a covenant. Not by the exchange of goods and services, of work and wages, but a covenant is characterized by the exchange of lives. God says to us, "It is all of me for all of you." And that covenant doesn't just last for a time, it lasts for all time. Because it is bound by an indissoluble, unbreakable binding. God bends down to work alongside of us, the least in his kingdom. He gets his hands dirty by entering into the messiness of life so that he can sympathize with all of our sufferings, even the greatest of our sufferings. And as the quintessential servant leader, he will not ask nothing of us that he is not first willing to do himself. It is in our gospel that the undercover boss finally reveals his mask and shows us his true identity in all of its splendor and all of its glory. It is God himself who not only works beside us, but who also goes ahead of us. There is nowhere that we can go that he has not already gone. No path that he has not already trod. No end that he has not already reached. No darkness that his light hasn't already broken into. No suffering that he has not already endured. There is no way that we can turn to him and say, "You don't know how this feels," without him showing us the wounds in his hand and the wounds in his heart. They say that one of the deepest griefs, one of the heaviest weights to carry, is the loss of a child. This weight would be crushing upon Abraham's or upon any parent's shoulders if God did not carry this same weight himself. He sends his Son not to take away our sufferings, be they great or be they small. He doesn't send him to take away our sufferings, but to take away their meaninglessness, that he could transform those sufferings into great opportunities to prove our faith. When our faith is tested, when the world seems to be falling down all around us and the ground is opening up at our feet, when my trust in God's goodness, when his graciousness, when my trust in his power and his presence begins to fail, when I am empty at the end of my wits or of my rope and still more is being asked, it is then that I need my faith most of all. And it is then that faith is most powerful and precious to God. Christ reveals himself in all of his glory so that we could know with certainty who it is that goes before us as we have to climb up each and our own personal Calvaries, to know that we suffer with him, that we fall with him, and that one day we will be lifted up with him. His mission was not to prevent us from coming down from that idyllic mountain into the dark and bitter valley of tears. He didn't come to prevent us going down into that valley, but to let us know that because of the indissoluble, unbreakable bond that he has with us, as we travel through that dark valley, we do not walk first and we do not walk alone.